What's going on, you guys? My name is Kyle Solkar, and this is my rebuild project on a 2006 Subaru STi. Now, back then, I wasn't filming much because I was doing it as a side hobby and I was by myself most of the time. But I have a lot of cool pictures, and I would like to share them with you as well as the backstory of the whole, process of bringing this vehicle back to life. Now, the first picture I have here is just picking up the car. I was over in Batavia, Illinois, and it was completely in shambles. The car was, it was in a hole, but that was about all it had going for it. The car was, had rust seeping on the outside from all the creases in the spoiler, etc., just from sitting. It had, dirt all over the car, just caked on the car. The interior was nasty. The exterior was sitting. The tires were completely bald, and it was just a complete mess of a vehicle. So I know it sounds like, why would you buy that car? But it was super intriguing to me because I had always wanted to own an STi. I've had an 05, but I never had a Hawkeye, and I always kind of wanted one, and I never wanted to buy one for a premium that was like in new condition because I have a newer car. I really love that car, but I do like a side project or two if I can provide some value. So that's what we were doing here. Cool thing about this car, looking at the bill of sale right here, this car was a one-owner vehicle, which is insane. And a lot of people think that one-owner vehicles are always like the nicest examples, which yes and no, but a lot of the times people who buy the car new kind of get old and sick of the car after a while, and then they kind of just don't care about it to the point where it gets, worse, taken care of worse than, a car that had 5 or 6 owners. So don't always trust that for sure. But it is cool. For resale value, it is cool. It is nice. Everyone likes to see a one-owner car. But the backstory with that was it was at her dad's house. It was a lady driven, and she ended up having a child multiple years back, and then she just kind of stopped driving the car for safety reasons. And whatever, she just left it outside, and they put it in this kind of like garage canopy thing, and it looked like it had been sitting outside for a very long time. So it was very weathered. It just wasn't taken care of, and it was just, overall just not in the best condition in the world. So the car did have a good amount of miles on it. It had 165,000 miles on it, but it actually had really good service records. When you look back at the Carfax, I was able to pull up a lot of stuff, and it actually, in the time it was being driven, it was very well taken care of, which is great. So obviously, you got your first fill up and all that good stuff. That's a necessity, and kind of just addressing the damage. As I started buying the car, it was getting pretty dark. So it was, kind of like at that point, who knew what the heck was going on? But overall, everything was good. I brought the car back to the office and started to kind of address the damages and all of the things that were wrong with it. So with any used car, the first thing I always want to do is to get it inspected either by a local dealership or a respective, independent mechanic or shop that's very good in that specific regard. So with that, all my tuner cars or STIs, Subarus, all that good stuff goes to APM Tuned out in Villa Park, Illinois, and they were able to do a full inspection. Now for the $100 to $200, $300 this costs you, it's always worth doing, even if you're going to have the work done somewhere else, because the shop will kind of take account of every single thing that's wrong with the car. So they were able to do that, look over everything, make sure everything was good, tighten up things like the lateral link in the rear, as you can see, and kind of go over everything that needs to be done. Now, as you can see here, this ended up costing me a little bit of money because I decided to have them do the work because they knew exactly what it needed. They replaced the cam gear, and they went over the whole car, obviously did an oil change, coolant flush, all that good stuff because they're already in there. The car is retimed, which is always good to know on the motors because if your timing's off, you could easily blow a motor and just do a lot of stuff you don't want to do. So they did all that good stuff, got it running right, got rid of the code, the check engine light that was on in the car when I bought it. Typically, if you see a camshaft position sensor code, it's not the sensor, it's typically something like this. So be mindful of that, and don't always trust a code reader if that's what you're going off of. So important to do that. Like I said, always bring a car in for an inspection. It's super important to get that taken care of so you can drive the car and actually have a little bit of a peace of mind. After the boring stuff was out of the way, we were able to address the interior and clean that up. Now this was so bad to the point where I loved it because I really like to detail cars that are dirty because it's fun and satisfying. It's like when you see a commercial and you see like a vacuum, vacuuming a carpet and you see the difference. I love that. So for me, it was exciting to do. I have my trusty steamer that I've mentioned in a previous video. And of course, a lot of cool Forma car care products that are local out here, and the stuff smells super good and it works really well. So we were able to kind of just douse the interior in all of those products, clean it all up, steam everything up, and make it look really new. And on a suede interior like this, it's very easy to bring it back if you know what you're doing. Leather, a lot of the times, is hard to just clean out. A lot of the times it gets burned or whatever, and just worn, and it doesn't have the kind of dramatic effect like this did. But obviously the outside was terrible as well. So it was sitting, the reason that there was rusting wasn't necessarily because the car was like in salt. It just was the fact that there was a lot of water pooling and sitting in the creases of like the spoiler, where the spoiler met the trunk, and then you could see in the back end it was just really bad. So that stained the paint, but fortunately that was able to come out with a lot of buffing and polishing. So you obviously have to cut the car with like a Meguiar's like 105 and 205, polishing and cutting compound. Do multiple step polish and cut on the car after you clay bar it, wash it really well, and all that good stuff. So of course that was terrible, and we had to address that. So after that was done, the number one thing I almost felt like I was about to die on the test drive home was the fact that the tires were complete garbage, and that's something I needed to address right away. And this is something I stress so much. It's not about even like the brand of tire that you're using. It's more so the newness and the quality and the type of tread on the tire. Now, people are brand loyal, and I get it. For high performance cars, you need certain brands and stuff like that. But when on a car that you just need to make better, I always use the kind of the law of the diminishing law of return, which essentially is giving something the majority of what it needs without going overboard and like using, all I needed was being 90%. I didn't need it to be 100%, but these tires were negative 50%. They were so bad, so scary, and I just wanted a new set on them. So went to Call Discount Tire, wherever tire stores around here, $500-600 to get you a full square setup of tires installed, balance, all that good stuff. And this car drove so much better. It's not even funny. This is like the number one mod you can do to most cars is tires. Just throwing out a new set, doesn't matter the brand, just make sure it's a compound that's meant for whatever season you're gonna be driving in, all season, snow, winter, whatever. And if your car has under 400 horsepower, you're probably fine with whatever. Some make more road noise than others, but at the end of the day, like I said, not that big of a deal. So we kept going on the car. Obviously interior, exterior detail was huge. Oil leaks were addressed, the new tires were installed, and then of course you got to do the obligatory headlight refinishing. And these headlights are very expensive, and you can't just buy the casing of them like on some BMWs. So you've got to restore the outside lens, which actually worked out perfectly, which I was super happy about because I think it just really makes the car nice. It's like the face of the car, the prettiest portion of the car, and when they're oxidized, they just look like absolute crap. So of course you cut them, sand, cut, polish, and then put some of the protective coating on top that you can find at any automotive reseller, like a headlight sealant. After that, taking apart the grills because they were painted this ugly black, like kind of like matte black that didn't look very good, and then painted those again with Plasti Dip actually because I really like Plasti Dip. I know a lot of people don't, but I do because it always works pretty well for me. And yeah, took care of all that stuff, and then just kind of did a once over, did everything the car needed, did a one ABS sensor, and I believe there was a sensor in the, for the adjustable drive shaft, or the adjustable differential rather, and took care of all that stuff. And then the car was, practically good to go. I really enjoyed driving it. It was just everything that I was kind of expecting in an STi. They're not the most quality built cars in the world. They do feel nice and Japanese. They're no BMWs, but it looks cool. It rides nice. It's super fun to drive. The boost is fun. It's got a really fun motor. So I was super happy to have this car be a really healthy example at the end of the day, and I was able to, bring a lot of value to it. So I bought the car for around $8,000, and I was able to sell it well over $12,000. So without, a crazy amount of money put into it, I was super happy with that because, at the end of the day, it's not always just for profit. It's because it's a cool hobby for me. I really enjoy progressive hobbies that, and I like building things in general. And I know this wasn't some crazy motor build, but, it's very fulfilling. It's very fun to do. So I highly encourage you guys to do the same yourself. Just do your research, always pull a Carfax. It's always worth the investment. Check the maintenance records, see what the car's had before. Make sure there's no, crazy issues like rod knocks or bad transmissions or whatever. And if there is, be able to absorb that in your budget. So buying the car around $7,000-8,000, knowing this is a $12,000 to $16,000 car, depending. I mean, it had higher mileage, so around 12 to 14 was what the car was worth. You got to be reasonable, but as long as you keep your budget pretty good, you can actually pursue this hobby, maybe make a little bit of money on the side. So guys, thank you very much for watching today. I'm super excited to bring stories like this to you guys, just because I really enjoy kind of inspiring others to do the fun stuff that I've done in the past. Guys, I want to thank you so very much for watching this video today. I know it's a little bit of a different style, but I hope you enjoyed kind of taking a look at a previous rebuild project that I've done. So as always, guys, like this video if you you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Subscribing would mean the absolute world to me. Follow me on Instagram at SULKR_media for all the behind the scenes. You can even find pictures of this STi build from when I did it back in April. So guys, as always, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.